Yeah, we're going to move a little bit closer. Can't see a flag at the moment, Digby.
Welcome, folks, to race number 4 of the Star World Championship in Lake Garda, up in the northern part of Italy. Great to have you with us. We had a fairly tough race number 3 this morning, going through to the afternoon, and this is us in the little commentary booth. I'm here with Barbara Vosbury, Executive Director of the Star Class. Thanks for sitting in again, Barbara. Race number 4 about to start. The race committee were trying to get them off at 3:10 local time, which is under 4 minutes, but I think they're trying to set the line at the moment. That is our live shot out there from the top of the sailing club, from the roof. And we have Alessandro there manning our camera up there, and you can see a lot of stars over towards the committee boat end of the line to the right hand side of our live shot, and they're all milling around the start line trying to start. So here is the top 10 race result from race number 3. It was a superb performance by Lars Grail and Sam Conchalves, who pulled out an absolutely monster breeze, a monster lead this morning when the breeze switched from north to south. Second, Reinhard Schmidt and Uli Seeberger from Germany, and third, Alex Hagen, the double world champion with Marco Hascher. Fourth, in race number 3, Marcelo Fuchs and Ronald Seifert from Brazil. Fifth, the local sailors Diego Negri and Sergio Lambertenghi. Sixth, Johannes Polgar, Marcus Coy. Then Ivan Meleby, Bruno Prada with a superb 7th. And the Greek sailors Emilios Papathanassiou and Antonis Totras. And then Torben Grail with Guillaume de Almeida. And then Christian Scheinecker and Gerhard Bollinger, who we haven't seen their best results so far. So, back to our live shot. We'll try and figure out what the overall results are after 3 races at the World Championship. We're going to be running 6 races here in Lake Garda, and let's have a look at the overalls after 3 races. This is a provisional result, and look at that, the leaderboard has changed. Ivan Meleby and Bruno Prada are now top of the leaderboard on 22 points, 1 point behind Diego Negri, Sergio Lambertenghi, and then 3 points behind them, Augie Diaz and Arnie Boltins. Great result for Augie Diaz. And then Polgar and Coy are up to 4th, Xavier Rohart, Serge Pulfer 5th. The Greek sailors, who were 11th this morning, are up to 6th. And then Fuchs and Seifert, Merkelbach and Bartel, Reynolds, Oggioni and Staniek and Clean, this morning's overall leaders, now 10th overall after a fairly disastrous race for them. There is the bird's eye view of Lake Garda. Malcesine over to the left-hand side as we look at the line going south down the lake. We're spinning round to the committee boat side, about 40 seconds to go. Out there on the racetrack is Loué Habib. Loué, we believe you are all the way round on the pin end of the side. 30 seconds to go, Loué.
Yeah, and the runners are in the blocks here, Digby. They're all flapping their head sails, trying not to be over, but there's a lot of boats over. Up here at the pin end, I can see definitely bow, Italian sail 30. I can see 72-21. Torben Grail has won the pin, but I'll be amazed if they don't have a call on this. The Greeks were just behind Torben Grail. They get it squeezed out right into the photograph boats. I would be amazed if this one goes, but Torben Grail has won the pin. He's heading to the Malcesine side. There's about 12 knots of breeze here compared to about 7 knots of breeze at the committee boat. So as Luca was putting here, Classico Ora. We've got a classic afternoon race here on Lake Garda. A lot of cheering going up. Torben Grail won the pin end. The Greeks have been pushed down at that line.
And Louis, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Louis, but we've just heard from the committee that they're pulling the boats back. On the start gun, they put an AP up, so they're going to go into sequence again. As you said, most of the boats were over the line there, at least half the fleet, it looked like to us on Virtual Eye. So there in our live picture, we could see the rib go out in front of the fleet, and already some of the boats turning back to have another start. So, Louis, a pretty good start for Torben Grail on the pin end, but far too many boats over the line for that one, Louis.
Yes, well, we had a look at the current earlier on, and there is zero current here. Probably the reason for that premature start was the massive difference in wind speed between the committee boat and the pin end. 7 knots down at the committee boat, with 12 knots here up at the pin end, and they just got here too early. We saw several boats here far too early, having to go back and turn round. But that's really, I think, what's caused the fact that all those boats are over. Nearly twice as much wind at the pin end as there is at the committee boat end. But it looks like the Malcesine side is going to be absolutely favourite here, and winning that pin, getting out over there, might be the right thing to do. But Luke Dina is saying, really, what you're looking to do is to be just to the Malcesine side of the middle of the line, because you're going out there on starboard. When they hit the ley line, they'll come back on port. And if you are that inside boat, you can control the fleet. We saw Robert Scheidt at the Star Sailors League final doing that every single time. So, okay, Torben Grail won the pin, but perhaps to be, in that other position, just left of centre, is the place to be. But anyway, we'll have to get everybody back, and we'll have a restart. But absolutely cracking conditions out here, Digby.
Thanks, Louis. So Barbara Vosbury in the commentary booth with us in the Fraglia Vella Malcesine. And Barbara, that's the 3rd general recall we've had. We had 2 on day 1. These guys pretty keen as mustard to get out there.
It wasn't a general recall. It was actually a postponement before the gun. A little different situation. A lot of times the race committee will do that if they have a gaggle of boats that are over the line and they can't get all the numbers. So they'll just put up the postponement, gives everybody a fairer chance to start it and get the thing going again.
Well, here we are. Thanks, Chris, for showing us our little position here in the Fraglia Vella Malcesine. And as soon as you do that again, I'm going to pick the camera up and spin it round and show us. It is rather beautiful here in Malcesine, a lovely sailing club. And I'll tell you what, flick us on again, Chris. There's a good. I'll just show you around. There's Barbara. Hi, Barbara. And Chris here doing all the vision mixing. And that's what he's looking at. Alex, the press officer over there. And just across the table from Virtual Eye, John Rendell, ducking under the table. Hey, John. And Ben Thompson. And out of the window, you can see the view. This is our view right through the window. And there they all are. 87 stars for the 92nd Star World Championship. And they're all jostling back behind the start line to go into sequence again. Thank you very much, Chris. So the next start is going to be in about 5 and a bit minutes at 20 past 3. That's what we're hearing from the committee boat. Louis Habib out on the water, telling us that the best place to start, according to Luca Medina, who is Robert Scheidt's coach and a guy who coaches the Brazilian Olympic teams, and he's coaching or giving advice to a lot of the Brazilian sailors here. He's saying just towards the pin end, just beyond the middle of the start line towards the pin end, is the favoured side to start this race, to get over to the Malcesine coast soon. So Louis out there, these guys are pretty soon into sequence again, and it's looking like great conditions, mate.
Yeah, it looks like fantastic conditions, Digby, but it's a long, long day on the water for these guys, and I think it could well be the survival of the fittest in certain circumstances. We can see quite a few sailors just stretching out, trying to keep those muscles loose, because they're going to need it. This is going to be a full-on classic Aura race this afternoon. It's taken a little while to get here, but we have got an awesome race lining up now. And yeah, the Malcesine side is definitely favoured on that first upwind leg. The course is more towards the sort of south, above the Malcesine Yacht Club. And looking at the pressure across the course, it looks pretty good. Looks like there's pressure just about everywhere, but the sides are definitely bay. And we would expect to see the boats going down the Malcesine side for most of this race. At the moment, they're milling around the committee boat, looking for signals, and we have just spotted, Luca's just pointing out, this is a black flag. Repeat, a black flag, the second of the regatta. So black flag is flying, trying to keep the boats from going over. Back to you in the studio, Disney.
So Barbara, the second black flag start of the regatta for race number 4. They had to use the black flag after 2 general recalls in race number 1, but as you rightly pointed out earlier, that wasn't a general recall. They've just decided to go into sequence again, but they are running a black flag.
Yes, they need to do that. These guys are anxious to get a race off, and the best way to control your fleet is to give them a little harsh thing saying, stay back behind that line. You can't afford another penalty. So everybody will be better behaved at this start.
Okay, well, here we go. We're expecting the next start at 20 past 3. Am I right, John? So they must be in sequence right now already. There they go, 87 stars. Behind the line, 2 minutes 30 before the next start. Black flag start, and let's see how this one pans out. So the leaderboard changed considerably this morning. Staniek and Clean were top of the leaderboard going into race 3, now going into race 4. They are down in 10th. So they've got a little bit of work to do. 22 points to 50 points from top to bottom, from 1st to 10th. So we'll see how Staniek and Clean get on now. But Ivan Meleby and Bruno Prada top of the leaderboard after 3 races now, and just 1 point behind them is Diego Negri and Sergio Lambertenghi. So Louis, in our sequence, we are 1 minute 45 to the start of race number 4. You are looking pretty much as we are looking on Virtual Eye from the pin end, from the Malcesine side of the shore. And what can you see, Louis?
What I can see is there are some boats still reaching back towards the start line, and they're planing, so it's going to be very fast downwind. The boats are all in a line-up now. There are 2. There's certainly Malibu is right up the committee boat end. The pin end. So is Pathanayasu and another boat as well. They're having a look at it up here, but they'll definitely be screaming back. I would say, I don't know how long to go, but these guys might be coming in on board. I'd be amazed. No, they're going all the way round. So we've got these 3 boats that are really getting a bit gnarly back here. I can see, I'm pretty sure that the German boat that's in with them there is Polgar and Koi. Rohart's over here as well. And here we go with the lineup. Again, there's sails flapping. They're in the blocks. There's a lot. There looks like there's boats over at the committee boat end. They're behaving themselves here, but it's Rohart at the moment who's got the pin. Rohart's got the pin up here. Not sure how long to go, but there are a bunch of boats over at the committee boat end. There's a midline sag. Be interesting to know who's leading in that fleet, the midline sag. But there's a bunch of boats. I can't hear the gun from here. They look like they're over, but Rohart takes the pin.
They're not over, Louis.
Not over, okay. Right, Rohart takes the pin. Polgar and Coy, I think, in there, and Malibu, and they are gone. They are gone on the left-hand side here. I'm trying to see who's in the middle there in the mix. You can probably help me out there. I can see the Greeks in a good position. Papazanayasu's in a good position there. I can see Lars Grail has had a cracking start as well. Lars Grail, if he can keep his lane, will be able to control these boats on the left. But at the moment,
we saw
it's
one
Rohart.
Brazilian right in the middle of the line, Louis, who looked like he was over. I'm not sure. We haven't had confirmation yet from the race committee. Sorry. Oh, hello. General recall we're getting from the race committee, Louis. We're hearing general recall.
Wow, okay. You know, the tension mounts here, but Rohart got an absolute flyer there, but Lars Grail in a cracking position. Absolutely superb position there. I would say that Lars Grail probably won that start from a controlling point of view, but Rohart absolutely nailed the pin and he was away. So the tension mounts here on the racecourse, Digby. Back to you in the studio.
Well, that was a pretty dramatic start. It looked pretty clean to me, Barbara, looking at virtual eye. I know we're looking at the GPS trackers. We don't have the same view as the race committee, but that looked extremely clean to me.
It did look clean on the tracker, but there's a margin of error, I guess, where we draw that line on the tracker.
Well, we're just going to run through that again with 10 seconds to go. It's interesting to see the Greek boat having to do a quick circle to lose a bit of speed. They were a little early towards that line. The pin end was looking great for Xavier Rohart, and I think Staniak and Clean were in there as well, and Melody and Prada. So some of the top 10 contenders went for that pin end. The middle of the line, I just saw, to me, it was one Brazilian boat who was over, but otherwise not too bad. Nice, this is a virtual replay of the start. Who was that Brazilian boat there?
That would be...
Didn't see them as they flashed by. But they look pretty good to me. That was but we can't see what the race committee is seeing. And was that Pascalato? Yeah, I thought it looked like one boat was over, and I think it was Dino Pascalato. He is the exalted Grand Master here, age 71. We had a good chat with him, me and Chris, last night, and what an inspirational figure. He's been doing 3 days a week training, some real aerobic and stamina fitness for this World Championship. Pascalado, 71, been sailing stars for absolutely years, and he says he just absolutely loves this sport. Great character, Barbara.
Yes, he is. He is quite the character, actually, and very much appreciated to be on the race course, especially as long as he's been doing this.
Well, okay, we're looking at the live shot as the boats reach and run back down towards the committee boat. And there is the bird's eye view looking down onto Lake Garda. Malcesine on the left hand side of the picture as we look down. And the sailing club and harbour that we're commentating from. Just on the left of shot there, the Fraglia Vella Malcesine. A really nice building, very friendly club, great hosts for this 92nd World Championship. Well, slight postponement, slight delay before the start of race number 4. We had a reset for the first one, and then a general recall, and here we can see all the boats streaming back to get into the next sequence, which I think will be underway within a few minutes, as soon as they can.
It may take a few minutes because once you have a general recall and the black flag is up, all the boats that can be identified as over early will not be able to start the next race. So we need to give the committee a little bit of time to sort that all out and get the numbers posted and those competitors off the course.
Okay, thanks, Barbara. Well, as the boats make their way behind the start line and the race committee resets, we've got a bit of a video rough cut of race number 3, which was earlier today. And let's play that, Chris, and we'll try and summarize what happened. So, pretty good conditions for the start. They had some nice breeze, 15 knots to head upwind. The race committee got us all here for a scheduled 8 a.m. start. So some people were down here at 6 in the morning, and the race got underway in the northerly thermal breeze, the cold breeze coming down the mountain. And as you can see, the crew's hiking hard out. And it was some super sailing, I thought, in race number 3 up that first beat. And the Greek pair of Papathanasiou and Chotras looked like the stars of the day. They led pretty much all the way around the track, as they did for race number 1. Very nice video highlights here as we are looking at race number 3. A quick replay, a few shots put together of race number 3. Looks great, Barbara.
It does. I was wishing I was out there for that. I'm still sorry we didn't get started earlier, but these are great shots and a beautiful breeze for a star boat.
So the entire fleet were heading up from the south to the north end of the lake, and around the top mark, just off the sailing club, Malcesine in the background in the shot. Malcesine, Alex giving me a steer on the pronunciation there, and there they go round the top mark. Papathanasiou and Chotras first around the mark, and then the rest of the fleet slotting in behind. Both the Grail brothers in contention. Lars Grail up there on the left hand side of shot. He's helming with Sam Conchalvis, and Torben Grail, his brother, is also here, and he was in the top 5 as well. So great conditions for race number 3 in the northerly early morning breeze. Well, pretty soon after that gorgeous breeze, the thermal breeze of the morning died out, and life became a little bit more painful for all concerned. What a contrast, Barbara, from early morning to just about an hour later, as the guys struggling to get round the course, and then you can see the wind almost shutting down completely.
And then it picked up again, and then it died out again. It was certainly a test of skill and perseverance on that last race.
Lars Grail there with Sam Conchalvis on the bow. Super result for those guys. Taking the win, and just behind them in second place, the Greek guys. Good result. Now we're back with the live pictures. Looking out from the Fraglia Vella Malcesine. And those are the results of race number 3, Lars Grail and Sam Conchalves, and then followed by Reinhard Schmidt and Uli Seeberger, Alex Hagen, Marco Hasch, Fuchs and Sifar, and then Negri and Lambertenghi. That result by Johannes Polgar and Marcus Coy has taken them up to 4th overall on that leaderboard. Melaby and Prada are 1st overall now, just 1 point ahead of Negri and Lambertenghi, and Diaz and Boltins 3rd. Then Polgar and Coy, Xavier Rohart, the Olympic bronze medalist, up into 5th with Serge Pulfer. And the Greek guys, who are 11th going into race number 3. So the Greek guys have pulled themselves up to 6th overall on 34, 12 points behind the leaders. So well in contention at this halfway stage of the World Championship. Fuchs and Seifert, Hubert Merkelbach, Gerrit Bartel in 8th, then Reynolds and Oggioni, and then Staniek and Klein still in contention on 50 points. So that is how the top 10 overall looks going into the second half of the championship. 6 races for the Star Worlds, 5 races to count. So after 5 races, they can discard their worst result. And I imagine Robert Staniek and Fridtjof Klein would rather like to discard the result of race number 3. They didn't do so well. They were out of the top 50 for that one. And so that has seen them drop right down the leaderboard from 1st to 10th overall. Well, Chris sitting next to me, running the buttons and vision mixing. It kind of looked a little bit like snakes and ladders this morning when that wind switched round. There were pockets of breeze and holes, and we saw some people lose dramatically and gain dramatically. So really tough first race. These guys have already put in almost three and a half hours of sailing, and now they're out there for race number 2 in these incredibly physical boats. So we're still waiting for the sequence to kick off for race number 3. All the boats behind the line now, jostling for position, looking for the signal from the committee boat, as we are. Loué is out there on the water. Loué Habib, the world-famous sailing journalist. We're lucky to have Loué here. And Loué is with Luca Medina, the amazing coach of the Brazilian team, and particularly Robert Scheid. Loué, over to you.
Well, yeah, a very interesting development out here, Digby. We're at the back of the committee boat with 87 stars playing Ring a Ring a Roses, and we've just seen them put out a blackboard with a huge amount of numbers on it. I'd say at least 10 sail numbers on it. Now, I'm not sure what that's all about. They're holding it out, and that may be disqualifications from that black flag start. So I cannot confirm that, but they are certainly displaying sail numbers to the fleet, and I can only assume that's basically go home to those boats. I'll have a quick chat with Luca and ask him whether that's the case. And Luca is nodding. So we have a number of boats disqualified. Luca's actually taken a picture of it, so he knows which boats they are. But we're not going to call them out over air because we don't know whether that's the case. But we are talking about a number of boats that have been disqualified from race 4. Back to you in the studio, Digby.
Thanks very much, Loué. Understood. Well, we'll get confirmation as soon as we possibly can from the race committee as to which bow numbers were over the line, which boats were over the line. Look clean to us on Virtual Eye, but we're not on the committee boat, and it obviously looked rather different. So if 10 boats are out of this race, Barbara, that's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, because it looked like some of the top contenders were in that mix.
Yeah, nobody really wants to have this next drop race. So it'll be interesting to see when we get those numbers who it really is. And good luck to everybody else who's still out there racing.
Okay, well, we'll get that confirmation soon from the race committee. They've got their hands full right now trying to go into sequence, but we're in comms with the race committee at the moment as they try and get race number 4 underway. Meanwhile, we're in beautiful Malcesine on Lake Garda, an absolutely great spot. And just as we wait for the race committee to reset and get into sequence, here are some sights and sounds of Malcesine. Well, there you go, the Fraglia Vella Malcesine. That is the local host yacht club for the 92nd Star World Championship on the beautiful shoreline of Lake Garda. And what a pretty and attractive little town it is. We enjoyed the opening ceremony. They had a brass band marching through the town, through the cobbled streets. Some kids leading the procession, waving the flags, all the national flags of the 18 nations here. It's a big deal, the 92nd Star World Championship. Some of the great and the good are competing right out here. 7 Star World champs are taking part, a handful of Olympians, and I think we've got 4 gold medalists clanking around there on board.
At least that many. And the leader at the end of this race is sailing for the Agostino Strolino Trophy, which was donated by name's not coming to me right this second, but Agostino Strolino was one of the favorite, most famous sailors here in Italy. He won 3 world championships in 1952, 53, and 56. He won a gold medal at the Olympic Games in the Star in 1952 and a silver in 1956. So he's one of the most honored Italian sailors all over Italy, and so this should be exciting to see who wins his trophy this year.
And that's for the winner of race 4 or up to race 4?
Up to race 4.
Up to race 4. Okay, so, and Barbara, all your Star Worlds, do you always do 6 races for the World Championship?
Yes, always 6 races.
Okay, so keeping it consistent.
Yes.
Well, a lot of racing. We had Ian Murray in here yesterday, and Ian, the regatta director of the America's Cup in San Francisco, also a great star sailor, and now the team principal for Team Australia, the challenger of record for the next America's Cup. And it was rather interesting seeing the star boats with their 100-year tradition, you know, keeping it real, and as it has been for the last 100 years, and then chatting about the America's Cup and the foiling catamarans blasting around at 45 knots.
Yeah, I wonder how Matt Belcher's morning was this morning with that foiling cat.
I bet it was pretty good.
I bet it was too.
Matt Belcher, the skipper, the new helmsman for Team Australia. He's training right here in front of us on Lake Garda in a GC32, a new foiling catamaran, 32 foot. Huge, great thing, powering up and down. And Matt out here with Ian. Now we're on Twitter. If you're watching us at home or in the office, sneaking this little window in a corner of your screen, and you can open up Twitter and hashtag Ask Digby and chat to me and Barbara here in the Sailing Club. We'd love to hear from you, where you are and what's going on, any insights, who you're supporting. So the next start in under 6 minutes, 3:45. We're about 3:39 here, local time in the afternoon in northern Italy. So Loe coming up to 5 minutes now.
Yes, Big B. Luca he took a picture of that blackboard. We're not going to give any actual names because we can't be absolutely sure. But there are 17 boats on that list. I repeat, 17 boats on that list. And if we're right, one of them is a former world champion. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that develops. Right now, we've got the boats having a look at the start line. It looks like Classico order still over on the Malcesine side. There's plenty of breeze. So it is going to be a rerun of that start. Almost certainly the pin's going to be favoured, although they've moved the committee boat to try and keep the boats away from the pin end. I don't think it's going to make a blind bit of difference. We're going to see another electric start on the Malcesine side in just a few minutes. But yeah, it's getting quite, I wouldn't say controversial, but there's high drama out here. There were 17 boats. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Louis. Well, Barbara, 17 boats, black flag for that one. That is pretty dramatic. We do not have confirmation of who they are yet. Just in the yacht club, right in front of us with the window, we can see some sails fly by, so they're obviously retiring. Yes. They've seen their number called, but as soon as the race start gets underway, we'll get confirmation from the race committee as to who exactly was black flagged on that last start. So we've got a few minutes just before the start of race number 4, and here are some more sights and sounds of Malcesine and Monte Baldo, the big mountain right behind us, supplying a lot of this breeze. All right, we're in sequence for race number 4 at the Star Worlds, and we're using our live shot from the top of the Fraglia Vella Malcesine, and there you can see the boats lining up. But to the left of picture is the pin end of the line. Chris, super keen to show a bit of paragliding, but here we are. That's all right, mate. We've got the bird's eye view looking down onto the start line, and there you see the majority of boats onto the right-hand side, the committee boat end, as we fly ourselves round. 1 minute 40 to go to the start. It's black flag again, and all the boats now just behind the line. Somebody trying to make their way around the committee boat to start correctly. And Louis, 1 minute 20 to go. Big line up, Louis, all heading towards you.
Yeah, big line up, Digby. But the news is the pin is now only 800 metres from the shore. That, in essence, is making the pin even more favourable because you'll hit the ley line early going up the Malcesine side. So this pin is going to be absolutely vital. At the moment at the pin, we've got Malibu and Prada. We have Pathaniasu and Tesotlas. We have Rohart. Yeah, can you hear me?
Louis, just sorry to interrupt you, mate, but we've just had a info from the committee, the race committee out there on the water. They are going to postpone this race.
Okay, reading it out and clear, Digby. Thank you.
Tough conditions for this race committee. A lot of the sailors probably not aware of that at the moment. But there's the lineup towards the pin end. And the race committee will go into another sequence. Shame, Barbara. They're having a tough time, aren't they, this race committee?
Yeah, you know, when the breeze is up, you'd think that this would be easier on the race committee, but it's not necessarily the case. If everybody's out there and anxious and ready to go, they're going to be pushing the line and pushing the line. And I think that's what we're watching happen here.
Okay, just a quick reminder to anyone watching at home or at work, we are on Twitter, #AskDigby. Got any queries, we will try and answer them. Yeah, well, a bit of grief coming over Twitter, I think, for the race committee, the race officer. But these guys having trouble. Louis coming up for a third potential start. I hope they get this one off, Louis.
By the way, I just thought I might tell you that we got very close to Staniak and Clean before the start of that race. And Clean is one of the big characters out here. Huge man, bald head, loves his basketball, his hip-hop. And he said, "Do you want a quote?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Life is always fun," he says, "sailing sometimes." Which just shows he got some humour still. It's going to be a long day for these guys. Let's hope they get away next time. But you know, the fact of the matter is that Luke is pointing out, really the racecourse needs to be further to the north because they're running out of runway. It's so favoured on the Malcesine side that if they keep the course where it is, everybody's going to go left. You know, it's just so favoured. There's loads of breeze down there, and you know, quite frankly, that's where they're all going to go. It doesn't matter what they do with the line in this position. Everybody's going to get left. It's a fantastic sight watching these boats start. We'll hope that they get off to it next time. Back to you in the studio, Digby.
Thanks, Louis. Okay, I think in our little studio at the Fraglia Vella Malcesine, we're going to take a couple of minutes break. Stand by. As soon as we know when they're going into sequence, we'll come back just after the 5-minute gun, 4 minutes. So, Louis, just stand by out there. We'll come back to you in a moment. We're going to take a couple of minutes break as the race committee resets for their hopefully final attempt at the start of race number 4. So bear with us, and we'll be back with you in a few minutes.
Lake Garda has always been the ideal holiday destination in northern Italy, chosen by generations of tourists. Historic villages and lush green countryside give Lake Garda a breathtaking Mediterranean landscape. It has the perfect environment for visitors who love active vacations. It's the perfect place to spend a holiday any time of year. The incredible variety of the authentic local cuisine invites guests to relax and enjoy the fine dining the area has to offer. Imposing medieval castles tell visitors the fascinating story of the cities of Garda. Antique little houses in the midst of tiny romantic streets make Malcesine one of the most suggestive villages. Johann Wolfgang Goethe and Gustav Klimt sang their praises of these places for their rich cultural landscape. The Museum of Malcesine Castle tells us the story of the history of Garda. The area offers an interesting variety of athletic activities. The northern winds of Garda are perfect for surfers and kite lovers. Italy's largest lake has the perfect conditions for sailing, and sailing champions are often welcome guests. Monte Baldo, over 2,000 meters high, is an incredible, unique attraction that's easy to reach on the outskirts of Funivia, leaving from Marcesine or Prada. The choice of athletic activities is endless, but there are also cultural events that attract tourists of all kinds. This is the perfect destination for those who love biking and trekking. It's always possible to take a break in one of the many refuges, Baite mountain houses and restaurants. The numerous trails offer many different ways to reach the Baite in various areas, and in any direction visitors decide to take, they will find breathtaking views of the lake. Visitors that love biking will think that they have arrived in paradise on Baldo, from easy treks for beginners to the most dangerous paths for experts. Free flyers will enjoy the amazing experience of diving into the enchanting panorama of Garda, even accompanied in tandem, but only suggested for the brave of heart. Long walks on the beach, Brenzoni for example, to have a rejuvenating break on the banks of the lake. A tour of the lake on a historic sailboat. A picnic on board with flavors of the local cuisine. Torre del Benaco with a spectacular castle and an age-old lemon orchard that offer a magical background for any kind of event. The semicircular romantic port, a tiny square on the water, a walk through the quaint streets with monuments from every era. Garda is a characteristic village, speckled with splendid historic villas of the noble families. Garda has conserved a rich tradition of the fishing industry, which brings the lake's many flavors to the local dishes. White fish like tinca, lavarello, and corregone that chefs know how to combine with the wealth of the land to create delicious food. Bardolino, pearl of the olive tree Riviera, is connected with a navigation system to many other splendid towns. The area is animated by countless annual gastronomic and athletic events. The area is famous for its rich production of wines. This long tradition of wine production is told at the Wine-Making Museum. The surrounding hills are the birthplace of some of Italy's most famous wines, like Bardolino and Chiaretto, Valpolicella, Amorone, Lugana e Custoza. Most wineries will be happy to let you visit the historic cellars for a sample of their expertise. Garda's extra virgin olive oil is as renowned as its wine. There is also a museum dedicated to the production of olive oil. The oil and other products made from the oil follow all the laws of the strictest procedures that guarantee the excellent certified dock quality. Spending a pleasant holiday is easy wandering through the historic center of Lazise, peering in the windows of the curious shops and boutiques. Restaurants and pizzerias welcome families with courtesy and professionalism. A holiday on Lake Garda also means fun for the whole family. Carnival World, Gardaland, and Sea Life are some of the best theme parks in Europe. Carnival World is a water park in a tropical atmosphere. Gardaland is full of must-see attractions and exciting shows almost year-round. Peschiera del Garda, one of the oldest villages on the lake, is surrounded by water and medieval defensive walls. Flamingos, camels, buffaloes, monkeys, hippopotamuses, and giraffes are all waiting for you at the Parco Zoo Safari. Lose yourself in the prehistoric era. Valleggio sul Mincio, with its fortified village built on the banks of the Mincio River, is the birthplace of the Valleggio tortellino, called the Knot of Love. This handmade pasta is still prepared following a historic recipe. Verona, with its famous arena, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, seduces visitors with the legend of Romeo and Juliet. The Veronese region is known for its characteristic production of Vialone Nano rice. Its excellent quality makes it ideal for rice dishes. Combined with Veronese Monte cheese and radicchio. Even gourmet chef Heinz Winkler came to learn these recipes from his Italian colleagues. Large camping grounds and the villages of Lake Garda offer high-level services surrounded by an oasis of nature and tranquility. For tourists, start your evening in one of the numerous Italian bars, sipping on a spritz cocktail. Discos and clubs guarantee a lively night out until the early hours of the morning. Garda is also the perfect place to relax and pamper yourself. Heated pools and exclusive spas offer a variety of wellness packages that let you rejuvenate both the body and the mind. Lake Garda awaits you year-round. Come and visit the cities. You'll be welcomed with courtesy and hospitality. The restaurants and hotels will be ready to satisfy your every holiday desire with professionalism. And have a once-in-a-lifetime experience to share with family and friends. Experience the enchantment of Lake Garda, an unforgettable holiday any time of year.
Well, hi folks, we are in sequence for race number 4 of the Star World Championship. Barbara Vosbury in the commentary booth in the Fraglia Vella Malcesine, right next to me. Barbara, the exec director of the Star class, and we've 3 minutes to go to this start, and we're all rather hoping they get off to a clean one.
Yes, we are. I believe in the middle of that, after this 17 boats we heard were posted. They've now left the course, and the race committee has readjusted the starting line. So hopefully we can make this all happen on this start.
Well, coming up to 2.5 minutes to go to that start. 17 boats black flagged from the previous one, and we haven't had the official confirmation from the race committee. And you can see on the tracker there's a boat heading back towards home, and we saw a couple fly past the window, and one of them we happened to catch was Mark Reynolds. Unfortunately, 2 times Star World Champ is out of race number 4. But we will come back with the official list of the 17 competitors not in. 2 minutes to go to race number 4. Our famous sailing journalist, Mr. Louis Habib, is out there on the pin end of the line, watching it with his eyes and ears. Louis, how's it looking?
Well, we've got a black flag flying still, Digby, so they're going to have to be very careful. At the moment, there are a bunch of boats just circling around the pin area, like some wolves prowling around some prey. We've got Lofsted, we've got Hagen, we've got Papathaniasou, and we've got Malibu, and they are just circling around the pin area. It's all about winning this pin now for this race. There's quite a significant gap between those boats and the rest that are hovering mid-fleet. But there are these 4 boats that they all want that pin. There's a lot of flapping sails going on well short of the line, about 2 or 3 boat lengths short of the line. And nobody wants to be over because they know what's going to happen. They're going to be going home. So we're into a sequence now. The Papathaniasou he's hardened up. He's having a look at the gun. He's flapping. There's a Dutch boat in there, very close to the collision there. I can see a Croatian sail number. I couldn't tell you which one it is. There's a right old punch-up going on this pin end now as the rest of the fleet come down. At the moment, Papathaniasou is the closest to the pin. He's going to have to be very careful there now, and he's gone about. Papathaniasou has gone about. He knows he's going to be over. So we have Croatian bow number at the moment. He's having a look at the pin. It's Arapov and Stitic. The Greeks coming back. They somehow found a gap, but have they? They just look like they had a collision with Lofsted. I don't know if they did. Lofsted has just hit the pin. Lofsted has just hit the pin. Rohart gets through. So does Malibu. And so does the Brazilian Fuchs. But it looks like, I would say, that it's Arapov. Arapov, the Croatian, that's done well there. Torben Grail in the mix there as well. So we have Fuchs and Malibu and Rohart and Torben Grail, all with good starts. The Croatians have been pushed out of shift. The Croatians are now heading to Limone. I would say that Fuchs has got a very good commanding position at the moment. I would say the start was won there by Fuchs, but what a start. Digby, over to you for some stats.
Thanks, Louis. Well, Arapov and Stitic did an amazing start there. They're the left of our live picture. They tacked onto port, crossed the fleet, and now they're back onto starboard. And we can see Louis from our camera. We had a really good live look at that start. We're in a perfect position by chance to catch that start. We saw the Greeks having to duck out and jibe around and come back and restart, and I still can't see where the Greeks are. But look in the middle of that picture. That pink line tells the story. Arapov and Stitic from Croatia, 26 meters ahead at the moment, just after the start. So these guys are in clean wind, and that was a bold move, Barbara.
It was bold, and boy, he pulled it off really nicely. Good on you, Mate.
Well, looking at that live shot, I mean, it really looks amazing here on Lake Garda this afternoon. We're looking right of shot. We can see Xavier Rohard with his gold star, and middle of the shot is Torben Grail, and the gold stars, past goal world champs here. And off they go. They're all heading off to the left-hand side of the track. Diego Negri is in that little clump, and this is where some of the top contenders, the top 10 sailors, are. And was that Melleby over there as well?
Yes, it was.
So at the bottom of our shot, we can see the Danish flag, Norwegian flag, sorry, Ivan Melleby sailing with Bruno Prada. They're in a great spot, great clean air. Louis, you're out there on the track, not far off from these boats. Over to you, Louis.
Well, we're following them into the Malcesine shore here. It's very windy. The waves are up as well. I would say we're looking at about at least 15 knots of breeze, and it's very gusty coming in here. Yeah, we're just going to try and catch them up a little bit, but it's all about the ley line now. Who's going to get there first? And it's trying to keep the height as well. They're getting knocked down, but it looked like Fouche and Torben Grail got the best of the starts there. And they look in a very good controlling position. They're literally going right up the shore here. And they'll be seen on the ley line. There's a point that sticks out here. And then we see the first tacker there. That's an Austrian boat, but I think that was just a clearing tack because he knew he was about to get pinned down. So now we've got them tacking over. Melleby and Torben Grail literally tack in unison. Then it's Fouche. Fouche was the last one to tack there. So we've got the leaders coming back, and to see the gain they've made. Melleby looks extremely good there, but it is I think the Croatians that have got, no, it's a German sail number. I can't see it is from here. I would say that's a German sail number. I can't tell you which one it is. I'll try and find out. Who's that German there? Yeah, that's Polgar and Coy. Polgar and Coy looking very good as well over on this side. So they've had to tack out to get round this point, and I think it's probably best to hand back over to you to the stats to say how they're going for that top mark, Digby.
Thanks, Louis. We've got a mix of live shots from the roof of the Fralia Vella Malcesine and virtual eye using GPS trackers. And still Arapov and Sitchik leading the fleet in race number 4. And you can see the coastline, all the boats heading over towards the Malcesine side of the coast where all the wind is. And we've got our camera looking up, and look at the gusts and patches of wind. The boats heeling over in those gusts as the wind whistles around that little corner there, that little point. And they're all working their way up this little patch of coastline. Louis in there somewhere, right in amongst it with the Brazilian coach, Luca Medina. And there, that picture is telling us 1,000 words of how things are going here in Lake Garda.
What a beautiful day, and what a beautiful sight that is.
Well, back on virtual eye, and Melleby and Prada attacking over towards the coast. And there's a lot of traffic over on this side of the course. The yacht club is on the same side of the course. So we're looking up the track. Windward mark to the left of picture, and a consistent breeze, really nice breeze for race number 4. Arapov and Sitchik with that awesome port tack flyer on that start line. That was a textbook case, and they managed to pull it off. So that was pretty brave of them, Barbara.
Yes, it was. Very lucky to be able to pull that off.
Well, you need a bit of luck, but they went for it.
And a little bit of skill, or a lot of skill.
A lot of skill, absolutely. here we go, looking from the roof, and we can just see the headland that these guys have got to get round to get to the top mark, which is just going to be off Malcesine. We've got a 4-leg course for this race, so 4 legs, up, down, so it'll be a downwind finish, and it's great to get race number 4 away. We're now looking towards Malcesine, coming from the other side of the lake to where we are, and a few boats heading to the right-hand side of the track as they look upwind, but not really any of the contenders. I think all the contenders are here right in this bunch. Polgar and Koi, Arapov and Sitchik, Negri and Lambertengi, Staniek and Klein are in there.
It looks like a bit of a shift. We have Andre Bergenoy in the lead at this very moment, but I'm thinking that's just a wind shift that's making that happen.
Yeah, I would say so.
And it could always come back.
So the majority of boats, Barbara, tacking their way up the coastline of Malcesine, and the Virtual Eye is going to give us Sitchik back any second now. Quite interesting dynamic on Lake Garda. I think we've seen it all over the past 3 days.
We sure have.
We've had light winds and heavy winds, too much wind and not enough wind. A race abandoned yesterday afternoon because the wind just died out, which was really tough on Torben Grail, leading that race with the finish line in sight. But the race committee, I think quite rightly, decided to pull that one because most of the competitors wouldn't have finished in time. And quite rightly too, they carried on this morning with race number 3. They had quite a big call to make, a big decision, whether to continue with race number 3, because the wind had moved from northerlies to the southerly right in the middle of the whole race. And as we saw in our little video review just earlier, there was absolutely no wind. But fortunately, everyone managed to finish within the 60 minutes of the first boat crossing that line. So John Rendell of Virtual Eye opposite us in the sailing club here. He's running the numbers for us and running Virtual Eye. Paul Sharp down in New Zealand, the inventor of this incredible system, keeping us straight and keeping up to date with what's going on, and just great stuff from Paul. So we are looking at a virtual shot. Everyone has a tracker on board. We're going to try and get a list of those boat numbers who were black flagged from the committee. We'll try and get you the official list as soon as we can. We're a little reluctant to speculate, but we did see Mark Reynolds come back in, didn't we, Barbara?
Unfortunately, we did. I'm still waving that U.S. flag, you know.
Good for you. George Szabo, Ed Natucci up there in 6th. Szabo moving up the standings. He's in 26th overall now after 3 races. He had a black flag on race number 1, and his next 2 results a little bit better. Let's see, 7th and a 12th, so not too bad. And now he's up in 5th position. So he's beginning to find his feet, I think, George Szabo.
Yes, he will. He's a fighter. He comes back scrapping every time.
Out on the water, Louis Habib also working his way up with the boats. And Louis, how's it looking to you?
Well, it's an amazing sight here, but Virtual Eye can probably confirm this. Looks like the boats actually on the Limone side have made some good gains. I think it's Morazis, the Swiss, that may well now be in the lead. They may have taken Arapov, the Croatian. Fuchs has run a very good beat so far. He stayed right in shore. He was literally touching the rock. And he's made some big gains as well. But there's a lot of good names up there with them as well. Negri and Lambertenghi on 5 behind. Nor is Torben Grail, who had a sensational race yesterday that got binned. So probably best to have a chat with Virtual Eye, but the Limone, the side of the boats on the Limone side, they look like they're making some big gains over that side, Digby. Over to you.
Thanks, Louis. Well, Berezhnoi and Mazalov heading over to the right-hand side of the course as we look up the beat, and certainly is beginning to pay, Barbara. We saw those guys in race number 3 cross the line early and come round the pin. I think it was them, and they managed to climb their way up through the fleet for a pretty respectable finish.
Actually, I think it was the other Russian, but you know, they're pretty good sailors nonetheless. And it's great to see Andre out there in the front, and the Swiss boat. Oh, Morazzi and Christoph Gauci are both up there in the top 7. This is good for the Swiss.
Well, I'll tell you what, viewers at home, I can confirm that Hubert Merkelbach and Gerrit Bartel are not competing in race number 4. They were black flagged because we've just seen them walk into our our sailing club. So our commiserations to the lovely Hubert Merkelbach and Gerrit Bartel from Germany, Lake Constance and Hamburg, and we're sorry to see those guys black flagged. Hubert is the reigning European champion. He was climbed up to 8th overall going into race number 4, and now he's going to have to discard this one.
Yeah, and we see Reinhard Schmidt and Uli Seeberger up there in 2nd place again. This is his breeze. He loves this stuff.
Well, okay, Louis out on the water. Virtual Eye is beginning to show a real advantage to the guys who have headed out to the right. Berezhnoi and Mazalov with Schmidt and Henschel in the middle of the track.
There's a shift.
Quite interesting. Shifty winds out there, Louis. We'll try and reconnect to Louis in just a moment. Okay, we dropped the line. We dropped his call. We'll get it back in touch with Louis in just a sec. So Schmidt and Henschel, Berezhnoi and Mazalov, and then the Morazzis up there. Fantastic.
This is very shifty. It'll be interesting to see who actually gets to that mark first.
Well, it's Flavio Morazzi and Anouk Morazzi, the husband and wife team from Bern in Switzerland. And they're having a cracking race number 4.
Yes, they are.
Okay, under a nautical mile to get to the top mark, mark number 1. We're going to be doing 4 legs of this race. So a slightly shorter race track. Good breeze. We're looking out the window. Trees are blowing. The wind's blowing. Everything's moving, the flags are fluttering, the light is glinting off the water, and it's absolutely superb.
It is stunning.
So Virtual Eye showing us the mathematical distance up towards the top mark, and the boats mathematically nearest to the top mark, which is why this lead line keeps changing. Schmidt and Henschel there with a 16-meter lead over George Szabo and Ed Natucci. And then Flavio Morazzi with Anouk Morazzi, the husband and wife team, up there in 3rd position. We had a good chat with Flavio and Anouk, and she's the only lady competing at this Worlds. There are plenty of female star sailors, including Barbara sitting right next to me, Barbara Vosbury, the exec director of the Star class. You've been racing these boats a while. Could have a few more females, eh?
We could have a few more females. The boat is a big, powerful boat, but it's not out of the grasp that women can sail the boat. If you spend your time in the gym and you're a strong girl, you can get this done too. And we know that women are just as smart as men on the water.
If not smarter.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Well, here we go. kind of interesting just to go off-piste and off-subject, so we can carry on watching Virtual Eye. The next Volvo race coming up. I don't know if you're interested in the Round the World Volvo race. There's an all-women team and on SCA taking on the guys. That's going to be fascinating to see how they get on.
It is. They've been training really hard in Newport, I understand.
Well, Team SCA were first out of the blocks to train for the next Volvo race, which starts in October. Quite looking forward to seeing how that all goes. And we'll see how Azam gets on from Abu Dhabi with Ian Walker at the helm for his third Volvo Around the World race. You'd have to put Ian down as favourite at the moment. But a lot of fans waving the flag for Team SCA.
Yes, there are. There's a lot of good girls on that boat.
Some great girls. Okay, so back to the Star Worlds, and the lead now taken by George Szabo and Ed Natucci. George is a past world champ in this class, a sailmaker, and he popped into our studio during race number 1 because he was black flagged. And he gave us some pretty good insights, just saying how much he loved sailing this boat. So once they get into the groove, into the track, they're really powered up, huge mainsails, and they get muscling along on those hard chines on the hull, and they just get on the rails.
Mm-hmm. They're beautiful to steer. If you ever get a chance to get out on one, do it. Just do it. It's a beautiful boat to drive.
Well, I drove very briefly in the Bahamas when I did some filming on board Bruno Prada and Robert Scheid's Star out there for the Star Sailors League grand finale. Quite hard to film on, I must admit.
Because it was rather lumpy out there.
It was quite lumpy.
Boy, it was beautiful in Nassau, though. Right?
Yeah.
Gorgeous green water.
Totally beautiful. And it's interesting to note that the winner of the World Championship here on Lake Garda is going to get an automatic invite to the grand finale of the Star Sailors League, which is a part of the class. It's a new movement, very much set up by the athletes to promote themselves, to promote the athletes, and to extend the longevity and their presence. They invited a bunch of other Olympic class sailors, like 49er sailors and fin sailors, to Nassau. And Barbara's pointing out the window.
I was pointing that Morazis was in first there for a second.
Flavio and Anouk Morazis.
It was a second, but it was there.
Yeah, well, they're just a metre off it, Barbara.
Yeah.
And not far off, and they could get up to that top mark first.
It is definitely shifty out there.
So Lue, I think, is back with us on the water. Lue, we are seeing the guys almost in the middle, beginning to pay off quite nicely. George Szabo and Ed Natucci, the Morazis, Schmidt and Henschel. So it hasn't completely played out to pay off going left up the course, Lue.
That's absolutely correct. And I just had a conversation with Luca Medina. He knows this lake extremely well. And he's quite amazed that the boats over on Limone seem to be making gains. We're on the Malcesine side, and there's plenty of pressure here. It's certainly nothing to do with the wind. He's thinking that it might be some unusual current that those boats have picked up over on the Limone side. So, Lake Garda just throws up one more mystery, and Luca can only point at some current from that very strong wind we had this morning is still present over there. We can now see the top mark, and I'm sure Virtual Eye is obviously measuring it better than I possibly can. But the boats over on the Limone side to the naked eye look like they're in good shape. But obviously the boats more to the middle will be physically closer to the top mark, which is in the middle of the lake. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But we can see a gravitation of boats either to the middle of the lake or over to the Limone side. There's very few over on the Malcesine side, which is something that we did not anticipate out here. But back to you in the studio, Digby.
Thanks, Lue. Well, one boat on the Malcesine side is Polgar and Coy, who moving up the leaderboard quite nicely, and they are 4th overall going into race number 4. But we'll see how they get on as they get up to the top mark. Not too far to go, but as Louis observed, the boats in the middle of the lake are beginning to look good in this race. And the Morazis now in the lead. Flavio and Anouk Morazzi now in the lead, just 6 meters ahead of Szabo and Natucci, with Schmidt and Henschel in 3rd position. So thrilling race number 4, Barbara. Looking good.
It is looking good. It's very exciting to be watching this. Glad to see Reinhard still up there in 3rd place, hanging out.
Okay, well, the Croatians, Arapov and Sičić, are down to 5th. They had that phenomenal start, and once we get halfway down the run, we might replay that start and just see how that went. But let's focus on the boats heading to the top mark at the moment. Great battle going on between the Morazis and Szabo and Natucci, neck and neck going up towards the ley line. Little bit behind them is Staniek and Klein. They had a terrible race number 3, but they're up in contention now in race number 4, lying 7th at this moment in time. And there's Grail and De Almeida in 8th. So a good day for Grail and De Almeida. Polgar and Coy also looking fairly good in 10th position, as are the Lavrovics in 11th.
There's 2 new faces up here in this top 20. We have Ingvar Kruk and Håkan Lundgren in 9th position from Sweden, and Leskinen and Wolf from Finland in 17th. That's the first time they've been up here in the 20. That's great.
Okay, Kruk and Lundgren in 9th position from Sweden, 85 meters behind the leaders. Looks like they're going to have a top 10 mark rounding. But at the moment, as we see it from Virtual Eye, looking back across to Malcesine, there is Morazzi and Morazzi. Flavio and Anouk Morazzi, who are here. They're in pretty relaxed mode. They're here to enjoy themselves, not taking it too seriously, and clearly sailing extremely well in race number 4. Szabo and Natucci there, just behind them, and a few starboard tackers probably going to give them a little bit of trouble any second now. But the Morazzis approaching that ley line for the first top mark rounding.
It is definitely paying off to be on the Limoni side there, isn't it?
Well, as we look out,
5 minutes.
As we look out from the club across the shore, there's a lot of wind out there in the middle of the lake, and all the boats in race number 1 and race number 2 all headed to the Malcesine side, and that's where the leaders eventually kind of clawed their way ahead. But this race slightly different, a little bit stronger in the middle and to the right hand side as the boats head up the course. And I'm just seen the Greek pair of Papathanasiou and Chotras pop up on Virtual Eye just to the left of shot, and they're just going to cross behind, I think, Gouch and Schenk, and you can see them just duck behind those guys. So Papathanasiou and Chotras not far off the ley line. They're going to be tacking over onto starboard with right of way, and so they may make some pretty decent gains there. I think they're in the running.
Flavio and Anouk are looking really good right there now. On the ley line, full speed ahead.
Well, that's grand. Szabo and Natucci is going to have to do another couple of tacks to get around this mark, but Morazzi and Morazzi are on that ley line. Looks like virtually, through Virtual Eye, they're going to make that first mark. And there's Arapov and Sičić just coming behind them, and I think they're going to be in tidy order as well.
Stand neck and clean right there, right in that second row going up the weather leg. Good to see them closer to the top, and maybe they'll only have to throw that last race out.
And there's Torben Grael and Guilherme de Almeida, who were leading race number 3 yesterday with the end finish line in sight, and then the race committee decided to pull it. So that was a bit of a blow to them, but they're in good order here in 8th position, heading up to the top mark. But at the bottom of the screen, there we see Morazis and Morazis with a 3-meter lead, and it looks like Szabo and Natucci are going to have to put a couple more tacks in to get round that mark. So Louis Habib is out there on the water, and I'm sure he's made his way up to the top mark, and the Morazis are heading in first, Louis, but talk us through it.
Well, this day has had so many twists and turns, and you're absolutely right. Flavio and Anouk Morazis are approaching the top mark, husband and wife. Anouk, the only lady out here racing, and they are indeed in the lead, and I hope half of Geneva's got up for them. This is a fantastic effort by the Morazis. The interesting thing will be to see which way they go on the downwind leg. Now, if you knew you had some current, then perhaps you'll not go down that way. You'll go down on the Malcesine side, because if you go back that way, you'll have foul current. Whilst the other boats that could see those boats moving along up there might thought they were in better breeze. So it's not a clear picture on the race course. It's going to be very interesting to see which way Flavio and Anouk Morazis go as they pass the spreader leg, which they are approaching now. Back to you in the studio, Digby.
So the Morazis heading around the top mark first, and as they head over to the spreader mark, Szabo and Natucci following them around the track. Arapov and Sitchik are in that mix. The Croatians with their port hand flying start, doing extremely well on the first beat up there, and Tenkan Bezzaretti also in the mix there. Diego Negri and Sergio Lambertenghi coming in on port tack, just about to hit a load of traffic going around that top mark, so I think they're going to have to do a huge duck. And there you can see right outside the circle, there they go, ducking behind that little group of 3, which includes Diaz and Boltins. So the Italians weaving their way through the boats and finding a little spot to tack around the top mark. Back to Louis.
Yes, and as you can see on virtual eye, the leaders are definitely looking to head down the Malcesine side. One interesting move there was by Arapov, the Croatian, who did a late bear away and has taken up a line which is to weather. A smart little move there to stay out of bad air. So it looks like they've figured it out, and they're not heading back down the Limone side. They're heading down the Malcesine side. We'll see if there's any changes. A cracking mark rounding there by Sweden 73. I'm not sure if that's Lofsted, but absolutely cracking bear away, massive surf up as he pulled in those sails and then eased them to get round. But this is a very close race, Digby. I think it's probably the closest race we've seen. It'll be interesting to see if the Morazis can hold on to that lead. But there's no daylight between the top 20 boats, I would say, something like that. And in fact, there's virtually no daylight in this fleet whatsoever. There's a few back markers, but the majority of these boats are all still very much in the hunt, Digby. Back to you.
Well, as Louis says, one of the closest races we've seen at the World Championship. This is race number 4. We're over halfway through the regatta now, and a really tight one for race number 4. So Papathanasiou and Chotras, Rohart and Pulfer, Melody and Prada just going around the spacer mark for the downwind leg number 2 of the race. And we've been racing now for 31 minutes 30 seconds. We had 2 full starts and a bunch of boats, 17 boats black flagged. Just looking across to John Virtual Live, we had any confirmation of no, we haven't, from the race committee. We'll have to keep trying on that. And there's Michel, Niklas and Struby heading around the spacer mark for the downwind leg. They're going to be happy with that. They must be in about 30th, I would say, 30th position. As we work our way through the top 20, there's Rohart and Pulfer. And then Negri and Lambertenghi up there. Diaz and Boltins. And right up to the front, the battle between the Morazis and the Americans. The Swiss and the Americans fighting it out. 17 meters at the front. And Barbara, I would say that the American boat can throw quite a bit of wind shadow onto these Swiss sailors.
Yes, they can, but Flavia's a pretty darn good sailor, and I'm sure he's not going to let that happen. And he's going to do everything he can to hold George off.
And John, what kind of speeds are they doing at the moment? Hammering downwind, looking at the front runners. 5.6, 6.9, up to 7 knots. So between about 6 and 7 knots. A great variety of real-time speed statistics being fed to us via satellite through GPS and down into our system here in the Yacht Club. And here we go, Staniek and Clean charging down the track. These guys were overall leaders going into today. Not such a great race for race number 3, but now they're up into 6th position in race number 4. Robert Staniek and Frithjof Clean. So they're having a good one here. As we move back through the fleet, see Grail and De Almeida there. Torben Grail, who has 2 gold medals in the Star at Atlanta in '96 and Athens in 2004. He's sailing with Guilherme De Almeida and previous Volvo Ocean Race skipper and winner. There the Russians, Berezhnoy and Mazalov doing well. Fuchs and Seifert from Brazil. As we move into the middle of the fleet, Melis and Fallet, Glund and Belts, Leskinen and Wolf. And there's Xavier Rohart, whose great race, number 3, has pulled him up the leaderboard. And looking back down the fleet now, just about everybody, I think, around that top mark. For leg number 2. So, Louis, these guys are hammering along. They seem to be in good pressure. Looking out of the window of the Yacht Club, there's some good speeds going on out here.
Yeah, some interesting tactics going on here on the downhill. As we said at the top mark, Arapov stayed high and he stayed in good pressure. He's on a different line there. That may well work. He's definitely staying out of bad air. Torben Grail, it wasn't that aggressive, but he's done a sort of similar move. He's slightly out of line. But they're heading downwind now. It's a little bit deceiving when we're going downwind, but it looks like the pressure is down where we are right now. I can see a few little puffs on the water, and it's very important for the crew to be talking to the helmsman as those puffs come down. So it's a little bit puffy, but it's certainly not as much breeze as we had at the start as we head down on this first downwind leg. But we're starting to see a little bit of a breakaway here. The top 5, 6 boats are breaking away. and that may well be caused by the chasing pack. They're very bunched together, and they're probably giving each other bad air. So it looks like a little breakaway here for the top, 7 boats. Arapov being very regressive offline, more towards the middle of the lake. We'll see how he's doing. Perhaps you can tell us whether he's gaining or losing down there, Digby. Over to you.
Well, Arapov and Sitchik managed to get the lead for a moment, but the Morazis have it back with George Szabo and Edna Tucci chasing on their heels. We caught up with the Morazis day before yesterday for a quick chat, and this is what they had to say. So we have Flavio and Anouk Morazzi from Bern in Switzerland, the only male-female pair married, and it's very good to have you with us, and well done, Anouk. I know you said you're not that keen on doing these interviews, but thank you very much for your time. Tell us, Flavio, first of all, just how is it going here on Lake Garda for you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty hard after a few months off the star, but yeah, it's nice to sail with my wife again after 3 years. The last time we sailed together, we won the Swiss Championship with all the big guys in the fleet. 70 boats on the start, and this time it's 90 boats. But yeah, it's different, the Swiss Championship from the World Championship. So it's level is a little bit higher, and the weather is a bit trickier this week. So we couldn't figure out how to start the last 2 days. But today our goal is to be in first line and get a better result.
Yeah. Anouk, how much are you enjoying just being out there on the water and sailing in the World Championship?
I enjoyed very much. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun, and especially to sail with Flavio, and we enjoyed the time together.
I have to tell you, I used to race with my wife, Paula, and didn't actually go too well, I have to confess. You know, we tended to kind of argue a little bit too much. Is it okay? Good comms with you guys?
Very good on the boat, actually.
Oh, like star sailing is now a family affair for me. So I sailed with my brother in Nassau half a year ago, and this time with my wife. So I think it's more relaxed with her. Because expectations are not so big. But for us, we want to end up 2 times top 10, and I think it's possible if we figure out how it works on this lake.
Okay, and Flavio, you said that you thought you knew the lake, but perhaps not. You know, it still has surprises in store.
Yeah, it's always the same when it comes up to a championship. The weather is different. So, yeah, we'll see what happens today, but it's always the same for everybody, and yeah, we just have to get the right shifts.
Okay. And Anouk, just some of the sailors here. How well do you know the fleet and some of the sailors here?
Well, I know them for a long time actually, because Fly is sailing the Star boat since 17 years since I know him, and it's like an old family.
Okay, so finally, last thing, Flavio, we're talking just before race number 3. What are you going to do differently today?
Start first row, and then we'll see what happens. I think if we end up top 20 in first mark, we can be in top 10, so it's no problem.
Okay.
I hope it's not super heavy weather today, and so it's no problem for us. Weight-wise, we're not on the limit, but we're still fast enough. Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck out there, and well done for being the only woman sailing at this championship. We'd like to see more, huh? Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nook. Thanks, Flavio. Well, he said he wanted a top 10 position and a better start, and just look at them right now. Flavio Morazzi and Anouk Morazzi doing extremely well in race number 4. Just walking through the door of the club, Dr. Hubert Merkelbach. Dr. Hubert, we're gutted to see you out of this race. Take a seat, come and join us for a little bit. Come and have a look at Virtual Eye. This is what we're talking about. We've got the Morazis in the lead here, Szabo and Natucci right there with Schmidt and Henschel right behind them. On the left-hand side is our leaderboard, Staniak and Klein, Arapov and Sitchik, who had a port hand start. And when you chat, you need to put that right there. So, Hubert, tell me what happened for your start.
Oh yeah, we were with the guys who were over early. Must be about 20 boats who were over early, and unfortunately today we got the OCS.
Well, our commiserations, Hubert. So that's not great because you'd ramped up the leaderboard to 8th overall after 3 races, which was cool. So you're going to have to use this as a bit of a discard.
Yeah, we hope so. We have to discard this race. In our position, we had to dare to make a good start. You have to go to the left side of the course, and if you don't go directly and risk something, you are lost and be at place 30 or worse.
Well, okay, commiserations. The race committee told us that 17 boats were on that list, on that board, on the committee boat out there, and unfortunately your name was on it. I suppose sometimes when I used to race, we used to try and go in the middle of the line and hide our sail numbers from the committee boat so that we could get through, but no luck for you today. But at least they've got off to a start. At least they've got 3 races under their belt and race 4. It was looking pretty hardcore for you out there in race number 3 when the wind switched from one direction to the other.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something special. But if the race committee intended to start the race, they have to let it go through. Doesn't matter how the conditions will change.
Okay, that is the rule in the star class, and they've been doing it for 100 years or so. The class has been in existence for over 100 years, and that's how it's done. And I suppose the conditions same for everybody, Hubert.
Absolutely, yeah. We started this morning in very strong breeze, about 25 knots or more. Then the wind died totally and turned 180 degrees, and so we went downwind to the finishing line.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. They went upwind and then they went upwind again, so that was kind of weird for us to see and describe, and phenomenal to see on this lake the wind switch from north to south. Usually that's the usual thermal pattern of the day.
Exactly. Normally, if the weather is nice like today, you have in the morning the so-called vento, which come from the north and can be quite strong. Then there's a little break through noon, and in the afternoon you get the aura, which we have now and is really strong.
Strong and solid. It's staying with us through the afternoon. I know we were worried in the sailing club that this might die out, but it's looking absolutely great. We have the live shot from right above us, Hubert, looking out onto the racetrack, and we can see through the window the front runners heading downwind towards the gate for mark number 2. They'll have 2 more laps, 2 more legs to do, another upwind, another downwind to finish. So these guys are nearly halfway around the course. And fabulous sailing conditions. I'm sorry you're not out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, I don't like to look out. It's great now, and it would be a good race for us, I think, because we like those conditions. Who are they now? And well, but that's the game.
That is the game, indeed. And Hubert, you are the reigning European champion. The European champions were in Hungary on Lake Balaton. And you were not racing with Gerrit, another crew. Who was that? Marcus Coy, was it?
Yeah, it was Marcus Coy, who normally teams up with Joachim Polgar and he made a big Olympic campaign last time for London, and they didn't succeed, unfortunately. But he's a great crew. He's really professional, so I was lucky as well.
Well, all sailors need a little bit of luck to win a championship, but we're underestimating the amount of skill that you guys are displaying. And there is Anouk Morazis on the just by the mast of the boat to the right of picture, leading this regatta. The only lady in the race, Flavio Morazis, helming and rocking the boat over, and Anouk there displaying some great crew work, and the following bunch not too far off, but they're pulling out a lead as they head down towards the bottom gate. The Morazis in the lead with Szabo and Natucci right behind them. And let's watch in real time, Hubert, as they go round the mark. Nice crewing by the Morazis.
Absolutely. Anouk is great. Flavio, we know he did, I think, 3 Olympic campaign in the star class, and he's really a perfect skipper, no worries. But Anouk, his wife, she does it just for fun, and she does a great job, as it looked like. It's unbelievable that they lead the race.
Well, they were pretty relaxed when we spoke to them. They were here to have fun, but Flavio, being such a committed competitor, was keen to do better. And look at them go here. A few simultaneous gate roundings, which we can see on virtual eye. Staniek and Klein, your German compatriots, doing pretty well. They were leaders going into today, now up to 4th. And Schmidt and Henschel there in 3rd position. Szabo and Natucci just round. I don't know Schmidt and Henschel very well. Who are these guys?
They are also amateur sailors from Germany. Schmidt is also coming from the laser class that I knew him from these times. And Henschel, he's not Henschel, he's Uli Seeberger. He's from my lake, a different crew, but he has a long year star class experience as a crew. He's really good as well.
Well, 2 German teams in the top 10 for race number 4. So the Morazis taking it away at the moment, followed by Szabo and Natucci, the 2 German crews up there. Scheinacker up there in 5th, and then Arapov and Sitchik from Croatia. And then who have we got there? Torben Grael and Guillaume de Almeida, also in that top 10. And Louis out on the water. There's a lot of traffic down there at that gate. Louis Habib.
Yes, indeed, a lot of traffic down here. Just to give you some information, the Morazis are actually under. Anouk weighs substantially less than all the rest of the crew here. So Downwind, they're going to be pretty hard to catch because they will have a slight advantage in terms of they're not putting as much weight through the water. Staniek and Klein had a very good downwind leg there. Luca Medina was pointing out to me. They got in position early, so on their approach to the downwind gate, they didn't need to jibe on approach, and they definitely called up a few places there. But we're into the last beat of the race, and quite frankly, if Morazis can get to that top mark first, they're going to be very difficult to catch downwind. But for now, back to you in the studio, Digby.
Thanks, Louis. So, Hubert, Louis was telling us there that he thought that downwind, Anouk being a lighter crew, would make the boat go a little faster. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with him. I also think if they can manage it on 1st place to the windward mark, they have a chance to win the race. But Staniek and Klein, they are really strong. They had a real good Olympic campaign, and they will make a hard life for the Morazis. But I wish it for Morazis' wife to win the race.
Okay, well, okay, I think we're all going to support the Morazis here for this race. Why not? It's really great seeing at the World Championship a mixture of, you know, professional, semi-professional and keen amateurs like yourself. You're a doctor. What kind of doctor are you, Hubert?
I'm an orthopedic surgeon and doing some sports medicine as well.
Okay, so real job, real life, and sailing for fun and competitively so. And that's how it is for most of us who take part in sailing. A few of these guys, only a handful, hardcore professionals. So we'll see who is going to win this World Championship. It's rather interesting. The positions all changed after race 3. Ivan Mellebu and Bruno Prada got up to the top of the leaderboard, and let's see how they're getting on here. I haven't seen them. Can you see them, Hubert, in the top 20?
No,
Bruno Prada, Brazilian flag.
Were they OCS as well?
Bruno Prada.
No, Norwegian.
Oh. Bingo. Good eyes. Thanks, Barbara. So they are up there in 20th spot. Not too bad. So good battle going on at the front of the fleet. Staniek and Clean just taking the lead for a moment. Now they've tacked, and the Morazis have the lead line of 2 meters. Who do you think has the advantage here, Hubert?
I'm not really sure, but on the beat, Staniek and Clean have the advantage to be the heavier crew and can point higher and go faster on the upwind course. But in the moment, Morazzi takes the lead a little bit back again. We will see.
Okay, we will see. And here are some boat speeds: 4.8, 4.95 knots versus 5.2. So kind of looks like boat speeds. Fascinating looking at this virtual eye. We can get a real-time view of the different boat speeds. 5.1 knots to 4.6. So the Morazis are holding them off.
Yes, absolutely. I'm wondering, maybe Clean has less wind because he's closer to the coast.
Well, certainly the guys who went up the middle of the course for the first windward leg seem to do a little bit better. So the Morazis possibly in a little bit more pressure in the middle of the track, and they're playing the middle game again.
Yeah, he seems to, he wants to cover both groups of boat, those to leeward, and also control the boats who are in windward to him. Let's see where the mark is.
Okay, John, virtual eye, if we can zoom up a bit and get a bit of a bird's eye view. We'll see how far up the track, the yellow ley lines at the top. And we're 1.4 nautical miles, not quite halfway up this beat. And as we fly up into the air with virtual eye, you can see the whole fleet there, Hubert. Everyone around the bottom gate, everyone heading upwind for leg number 3 of 4 legs going up to the top mark, and then they'll come down to finish. So this race is going to be in time, in good order. We've had 55 minutes of racing, and this is one of the cleanest races we've seen so far.
Yeah, the Aura is now at a very good stage. Looks very nice how the boats are going. This is perfect starboard conditions now. Great.
Hubert, we've got a little camera there. You can wave to your loved ones at home. I'm sure they're all watching, seeing how you're getting on, wishing you were out there on the water, but it's rather nice to have you. It's a consolation prize, perhaps, to be in here chatting away live and really having a good look at this incredible virtual eye system. It transforms, for me anyway, virtual eye transforms my understanding of sailing, and we can see instantly who's out in the front, And it gives us some incredible information like those boat speeds, and we can compare boat speeds. And here we are seeing the Morazis heading back into shore towards the Malcesine coastline, and Szabo and Natuzzi heading out into the middle of the lake. And if we zoom back into those front runners, we can probably compare their boat speeds again. Arapov and Sitchik gone way out to the right into the middle of the lake, looking for clean wind, I guess, Hubert.
Yeah, as we see now, the fleet has changed. Morazis is still first, but Stanek lost 60 meters about, and seems that the places a little bit away from the shore were favorite. And so Morazis had a good cover on the boats outside. That was quite clever what he did.
Okay, well, Schmidt and Henschel now heading into the Malcesine side, and they'll be tacking soon. And there's Scheinecker and Wallinger right behind them, and you get a pretty clean view of the coastline there. Schmidt and Henschel running out of room, and that is our camera from the top of the roof of the club of the Fraglia Vella Malcesine, and you can see the beautiful conditions out there and some lovely roll tacking by the crews. Quite gusty on that little point, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. When you go close to the coast, you get a lot of gusts, and you have to work on the main sheet a lot and trim the boat so you keep your boat flat.
So Hubert, you're helming these boats. Just tell me how physical are they? I mean, how much energy is going into your work there?
Oh, in those conditions it's quite hard. You have to hike. The mainsail is quite big, has 21 square meters, and it's quite a lot of load on the main sheet you have to use. So it's quite physically. I think we have to do the weight check afterwards, and I checked. I lost 2.5 kilograms today.
Good God, really? 2.5 kilos just through a physical workout, and
Absolutely.
It's hot as well, isn't it? So I'm guessing a lot of that is going to be water.
Yeah, but that's what we like to do. We want to have the physical sailing like the laser class and the star class is great.
Good insight. Thank you very much, Hubert. And when you're driving these boats, just give us an impression of how it feels when you're helming. What does it feel like?
Oh, it's very nice and sportive because the starboard is very sensitive of all the adjustments you do and how you are hiking the boat, how you are trimming the boat, and you can speed it up by body motions and trimming the sheets and all the rigging, and that's incredible. And if you go going on the downwind or on the run, the boat accelerates a lot, and this morning we had big waves and we had great surfing, sometimes too much.
Sometimes too much. Well, the race committee were a little nervous sending you out. It looked about 15, 16 knots of breeze first thing in the morning, possible mast breaking territory. I'm not sure. There were some rollers, so they kept everyone ashore for a little while. But fair play to the race committee from the local club for getting race number 4 off and around in decent order. We're happy about that. And Hubert, which is more physical, crewing or helming these boats?
Well, I don't want to work as a crew. It was it's really hard, I guess, and you have to hike. This is very physical. As a helmsman, you have to hike as well, but you have the main sheet from the very big mainsail, which is hard to pull in. So it's all a different job. Both, I think, both is quite hard.
Very diplomatically put there, Hubert. Very nice. Well done. But he's right, says Barbara. Back to Virtual Eye and the front of the fleet, and an interesting scenario developing. Both these boats, Szabo and Natuzzi and the Morazis, both doing 5.1, 5.2 knots, very similar, ever so slightly faster towards the middle of the lake though. And so Szabo and Natucci beginning to take that advantage away from the Morazis. We still have one more leg to go after the top mark, but the Morazis losing out to George Szabo there.
Yeah, we will see how the wind will shift and develop further on. 5 meters is not very much in those conditions. If you have a small shift of 5 degrees, let's say, the lead is gone. So we have to see what's happening. But as before, Morazzi put his boat in a quite safe position. He's not going extreme to the corners, trying to control the fleet, both of the fleets.
Well, good battle going on at the front of the fleet. Louis is out there on the water, our famous sailing journalist. And Louis, whereabouts on the track are you, mate?
Well, we're just bobbing up to the top mark. We've seen Arapov is one of the boats, leading boats that's on the over on the left-hand side. We were listening into your conversation to see that the Morazis are being hauled in, or have been hauled in, by Szabo and Natucci. As you said, the Morazzi husband and wife team, they're amateurs, and they're being chased down by some serious professionals. Staniek, Clean, Szabo, Natucci, you know, they have a chasing pack, which, quite frankly, they can probably smell blood. But if they can make that top mark first, they're going to be very difficult to pass downwind. And I'm sure the Morazis know that. So they're going to be doing everything they can to make that top mark first. So far, we've got, I don't know, about 300, 400, 500 meters to go. And we're going to bomb it up there and find out who makes that top mark first, Digby. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Louis. Well, the lead boats have around 0.8 of a nautical mile to go to that top mark. John very kindly putting that into kilometres for us. 1.5 kilometres to go to the top mark. Then the leaders go round for one more leg down to the finish back outside the yacht club, which is going to be cool to see. So a cracking duel going on now between the Morazis and Szabo and Natucci, with Staniek and Clean in the mix there with Schmidt, the two German teams chasing at the heels of 1 and 2. So a really cool battle going on at the front of the fleet, and just a little bit behind them on the near side, the Malcesine side of the lake, is Arapov and Sitchik. And I tell you, we saw the most incredible start, Hubert, of Arapov and Sitchik crossing the fleet on port from the pin end. They got kind of almost squeezed out. I think they didn't have much choice, and they had to tack over onto port, and somehow they just made it across the fleet. It was a great thing to see.
Yeah, they must have had a good view from their point, and it's always great if you can do such a start. But it's very, very risky, and if it doesn't work, to have a lot of problems maybe. But it's great if you can do this in a race. You have to check up early and get with full speed over the line. So,
well, it was a cool thing to see in virtual eye and from our camera on the roof of the club, and they pulled it off. So fair play. We'll chat to them later with a replay and get them to talk us through it. So good battle going on at the front of the fleet. At the moment, American skipper George Szabo just pulling out a little lead over the Morazis with Staniek and Clean in that mix. Schmidt there, the German skipper, also doing well. And further out, another American crew, Diaz, and Bolton's in there too. Grail and de Almeida in 5th position, going up the third leg of the race towards the top mark. So a good result for them too. Well, Virtual Eye giving us the tracks and the lead lines and all the stats and the numbers. A 25-meter lead for Szabo and Nattucci. And at the moment, I think they have the advantage, Hubert.
Yeah, looks like. It's great. Your technique is great. The virtual eye is superb. You can watch the boat like if you are on the race on the helicopter, see all the boats, the distances, the angles. That's a great technique. It's much better as everything we saw before.
As a competitor yourself, does it teach you anything looking at this kind of graphic?
Sure. I like to recheck the races later when I'm home and look what could you do better tactically, how are the professionals doing it, and you can learn a lot.
Well, interesting you say that, having spent a few years covering the America's Cup for the TV companies, and every day these guys look at virtual eye and they break down what happened on the race course. They have their own little video cameras from the coaches, all the America's Cup teams at the very highest level. Same with the Olympic level athletes, all there with their video cameras and the tracking, if there's tracking involved, and they all review the races to learn what they can from the top and from those deciding moments of the race. And quite often the start can be a deciding moment of some of these races, Hubert.
Yeah, that's right. We saw it today. It can be bring you a big advantage if you have a good start. You can control the fleet. And if you have 90 boats at the start like we have here, the start is very marginal for your success.
So when you're helming on a start line, kind of what is what are you trying to do? Obviously you're trying to hit the line at speed, you know, on perfect time with that time on distance. But there must be an awful lot of other calculations going on simultaneously.
Yeah, that's right. First you try to be at the preferred end of the line, and then if you have 90 boats around you, you have to fight for good space to start. You are not alone. You have to get enough wind, enough space to windward to accelerate your boat at the start, and some seconds before the start you shoot it in and speed up full power, hiking very hard, shooting in a very small time to accelerate the boat at maximum speed. That's very important.
And you mentioned trying to find some space around you, which I guess is a little space below you, so you can kind of bear away and find a little bit of acceleration. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. You try to stay a little bit windward of your concurrents, and it's hard to defend this space. Sometimes other boats are trying to get inside, then you have to close the space again, and it's all the time you have to be busy.
I remember when I raced dart catamarans, one of the leading world and European champions told me, I asked him what his technique was, and he said, well, he would find somebody new to the class and go and sit above him, and you know, he knew they'd be slow off the line and zoom out. So anyway, enough of that. We're heading up the beat to the top mark, and George Szabo and Ed Nattucci pulling out a 30-meter lead over Staniek and Klein. The Morazis now down to third position, but they still have a run, and we've seen how fast they are downwind. And we are unofficially waving a flag for the Morazis to get back into the lead of this one.
Yeah, we will see. The run will be very close. If the boats come so close, everybody has a chance to win the race. So we will have to see how fast they can go, how they work the waves, how they play the shifts downwind, and it will be very close race.
Hubert, Dr. Hubert Merkelbach, vielen Dank. Thank you very much for joining us in our commentary booth. You had no intention of commentating today, but we kind of pulled you in. We saw you curiously looking over our shoulders, seeing what was going on, and we much appreciate your spending a little time with us, with your insight, having come straight off the racetrack. Thank you very much, Hubert.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Well, Dr. Hubert is going to go out there and rehydrate and check out behind us how this race comes to a finish. Out on the racetrack, we have Mr. Louis Habib, famous sailing journalist. Louis, we just had some great insight from Dr. Hubert Merkelbach. Louis, whereabouts are you? You must be near that top mark now.
Yeah, yes, Digby, we're heading straight for the top mark at the moment, watching the front of the fleet unfold. And George Szabo and Eduardo Nattucci are sailing extremely well up at the front. But I'd like to tell you what's going on a little way back. We have the current regatta leader, Malibu and Prada, having a right old ding-dong with Negri, Lambertenghi and Polgar and Coy. And we are probably going to hit that top mark almost together. So there's a lovely back of gusto down there with the current regatta leader as well, worth having a look at. But as you say, George Szabo and Eduardo Nattucci, they are looking like they're going to make this top mark first. The Swiss Morazis should be quick downwind. They've got that weight advantage, or rather less weight advantage for the downwind, but it's obviously been a disadvantage on the upwind. And Staniek and Clean, don't forget there's a discard. So that race that they did this morning, at the moment they'll be discarding, and they're definitely still very much in the hunt for the World Championship. But have a look at Polgar, Coy, Negri, Lambertenghi and Malibu and Prada a little bit further down. That's a hell of a battle going on. Back to you in the studio, Digby.
Thanks, Louis. Much appreciated. We should just let viewers know that we're losing some of these trackers now. We've definitely lost Szabo and Nattucci. These guys have been out all day, and the trackers are run by battery power, which are recharged overnight. So on Virtual Eye, we will no longer see Eduardo Nattucci. So Louis, as they go round the top mark, we can't see Szabo and Nattucci. But a cracking battle with Staniek and Clean, Szabo and Nattucci, and the Morazis up there, and Schmidt as well, and Grail in the mix too. Joining us in the commentary booth, in our little commentary position in the Fraglia della Malcesine, is Mark Reynolds. Mark, nice to have you with us, and kind of not the best place you want to be. I'm sure you'd rather be out there, but you were black flagged, unfortunately.
Yeah, I kind of wish I wasn't with you. Either that or my batteries were out, but yeah, I'm sitting in here right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us. Mark Reynolds, double world champ in this class. So you've been and done this, and you've been to the Olympics several times. I think 2 gold medals, am I right?
Yep, yeah, a couple gold medals and a couple world championships. But I've sailed, I haven't counted, but probably close to 30 world championships to this point.
Wow, 30 world championships. Yeah. That's an incredible statistic. We're on our 92nd star world champs. This class, a great longevity, and great to have you with us for the final leg. We're going to just zoom out back to Louis Habib out on the water. We've lost Szabo and Nattucci. Louis, tell us where they are.
Well, I can tell you that Szabo and Nattucci are just rounding the spreader mark now. Szabo had a look up at us. We're only about 20 metres away, and he gave us a nod. He is absolutely loving this. And I tell you what, we might be giving a little bit of a quiet nod to the Morazis, but I can tell you there's no mercy from Staniek and Clean. On approach to that mark, they took them all the way to the ley line, sailed them almost past the ley line before they tacked, giving them bad air on the approach to that mark. And it's close between the Morazis and Staniek. And in fact, Morazis has got the windward side, so he's not giving up without a fight. But it'll be very interesting, that battle, actually, because Staniek and Clean are going to be a lot heavier on the downwind leg. Next round the spreader mark, I should say, is Schmidt, closely followed by Torben Grail. Torben Grail probably about 2 boat lengths behind. And you don't want Torben Grail breathing down your neck on the last leg of a race, because that man is an absolute mountain lion. Coming back round, we have the USA team of Augie Diaz. Augie Diaz with Baltins, who's having a cracking day once again. Very consistent from Augie. The Hungarians, who had that shocker in the first race, they're back right in it as well, closely followed by Arapov and Citric. There's a little bit of a gap after that, but we'll see how this one plays out. Maybe we'll hang around here and see the punch-up between Malibu, Prada, Negri, Lambertenghi, and Polgar and Coy. They'll be rounding fairly shortly. But there's a cracking finish to this race, that's for sure. But at the moment, Szabo and Natucci have got the bit between their teeth, and I think they're going to be very difficult to catch, Digby. Back to you in the studio.
Well, thanks, Louis. Just to remind anyone tuning in just now that we can't see Szabo and Natucci. They're leading this race. We're all using GPS trackers with this virtualized system. Morazis in second position and having a great regatta. So Negri and Lambertenghi just around the top mark, Svensson and Jolander. And here comes Ivan Meleby and Bruno Prada. They are leading the regatta going into race number 4. They just bumped up to the top of the leaderboard with 1 point between Diego Negri and Sergio Lambertenghi just behind them. So the Italians just leading across, leading the regatta leaders. We're sitting here with Mark Reynolds in our commentary position looking at virtual eye. It's quite interesting to see this view, Mark.
Yeah. I wish I was actually participating, but it's great to see what everybody's doing, and you can actually learn some of the tactical situations that are developing as they come into the marks. It's a good way to sharpen up your sailing skills.
Well, some great ducking and tactics going on as the port tackers come up towards that 2 boat length circle at that top mark. They have to give way, and just remind us, what are the rules around the top mark, Mark?
Well, there's a lot of advantage to the starboard tacker coming into the mark. If you're going to tack in front of that starboard tacker, you got to do it plenty clear. If he has to alter his course above close haul, you've fouled him. So you'll see most guys will tend to duck and not try to jam it in there.
Well, okay, I think we just saw Xavier Rohart do exactly that, ducking behind to get around that mark, behind that little clump of boats going around now. And who else can we see heading up towards the top? A few boats. Louis, you're out there on the water. Who else is out there, mate?
Yeah, we're just heading downwind now and watching what's going on. But that pack of 3 hot contenders, which was led by Polgar and Coy around the top mark, very closely followed by Negri and Lambertenghi. But as you were pointing out earlier with Mr. Reynolds there, what happened to Malibu and Prada was that there were 3 boats coming in on starboard. They were coming in on port, and they had no option but to duck them. So they fell back at that mark by about 3 paces. Negri and Polgar are going to have a cracking battle, I'm sure, to see which one of those wins that little private battle. But we're going to head downwind and go to the finish and see how that pans out. But at the moment, Szabo and Natucci, I understand, are not on your screens there, but Szabo and Natucci are very much in the lead, and we'll be down on the finish line to see them through if they are the first boat. But back to you in the studio, Digby.
Thanks, Louis. Just going through Michel, Niklaus and Struby up in the top 30 there, doing a nice race. Glund and Belt, as we move our way through the sailors towards the front, we can pick up some of these guys. And what kind of tactical options are open to you here, Mark, on this final run down to the finish?
Well, sitting in here, it's a little hard to say. I'm sure it's pretty puffy and shifty, so there could be some changes on the run. I'd expect Torben is very fast downwind. It might be a little tough for Morazis and Schmidt to hold them off, but it'd be well done if they do. And Diaz has good speed too. So those are the guys to watch. They're going to try to stay in the puffs as much as they can and come, blasting down. You might be able to even surf some waves every once in a while out there.
Augie Diaz, he's lying third overall going into this race. So a top result here is going to see him even further up the leaderboard, I think.
Yeah, Diaz will be a guy to watch for the championships. He's very consistent, and I expect him to have a couple more good races.
So you know these sailors very well. You've been competing against them for over 30 years, as you just mentioned. Tell us a little bit about Augie Diaz. We like him. He's a good character. We met him in Nassau in the Bahamas for the Star Sailors League final. He was just full of passion, full of life, and he loves racing. What kind of guy is he?
Well, I know Augie very well. I sailed with him. I did an Olympic campaign with him, as a matter of fact, back in the Flying Dutchman, 1979, 1980. And then I've competed against him in the Snipes and now in the Star. Augie does a lot of sailing. I mean, last year he sailed the 505 Worlds, Star Worlds, and the Snipe Worlds. Like you say, he's very serious about his sailboat racing. Very well prepared, and he's got a great crew in Arnie. They're tough to beat.
Well, they are going to be tough to beat, and I'm imagining that with just 4 points between first and third going into, overall I'm talking about, going into this race, this is going to pull Augie Diaz up a rung. We'll have those results on the website. After this race, you'll be able to click on the Star Sailors website and the host club website and check out the overall results after this race. But Szabo and Natucci leading the pack, followed by Morazis, and then Schmidt right behind them with Grail and Diomeda. So just to remind you, if you've tuned in, we're on the final leg of race number 4. Szabo and Natucci are in the lead as they run down towards the finish line. The sailors have been out all day since the first start this morning, 10 o'clock. We were all here for an 8 o'clock start, but the race committee decided to postpone for a while and keep them ashore because it was pretty blowy and a few little rollers and whitecaps out on the water. Mark Reynolds with us in the sailing club. Would you have been keen to go out this morning first thing?
Well, sailing here, you know that you're going to have the northerly in the morning and the southerly in the afternoon. And to fit in a race, they pretty much had to stay on schedule. Unfortunately, it was pretty windy and puffy, and you get out there and puffs of 30 knots, and you'll see some mast break, that type of thing. But Yeah, it would have been nice if they could have gotten going a little earlier. I don't know if I've ever sailed a race like that this morning where we had a 180-degree wind shift during the race and a drifter in between. A little shaky, but this race they're having now looks like a little bit better contest.
Yeah, clean race number 4. That's true. I haven't seen that either, Mark, a complete 180-degree shift during a race. But that's how it goes. It was the same for everybody, and the race committee has to get 6 races in to count this as a world championship. 5 races will count for each crew, so everyone will have 1 race to discard. The normal format for Star Worlds is that you guys do 1 race a day, 1 really long physical race, and I imagine some of these guys are going to be pretty exhausted by the end of this.
Yeah, when you have 90 boats, it's hard to have a short race. You pretty much need a couple miles to get the fleet spread out a little bit so they don't all go around the mark at the same time. And I reckon you can get into like today, but it makes for a long day.
Well, Dr. Hubert Merkelbach, who was in our studio just a few minutes ago, he was weighed before and after today's race, and he's lost 2.5 kilograms just from sailing out there, because obviously it looks nice to us sitting in a lovely shaded building, but it's hot out there.
Yeah, we were prepared for breeze when we first went out this morning too, so we had all the foul weather gear on, and then we ended up drifting. So yeah, I'm sure my clothes were soaking wet, as a matter of fact, when I got in, and it wasn't from the lake water.
Well, these guys heading down the final leg of race number 4. Been competing in race number 4 for nearly an hour and a half. The American George Szabo, Ed Natucci are in the lead. Their tracker battery has dropped out, so we can't see them in virtual eye. But there, I think we can see them with our own eyes, heading around the point just above the yacht club in Malcesine, and right in the middle of our shot, coming through the frame, is George Szabo and Ed Natucci, pulling out a respectable lead to win race number 4. Right behind them, a super battle going on for second position. And there we have the Morazis and Anouk Morazzi really flying that mast around, really using kinetic energy just to get down, and that looks pretty cool. So good battle going on, and third position, if we just flick back to virtual eye, who have we got in third? That's Grail, isn't it? Torben Grail and Demeda there. So good battles going on. We're just checking if we've lost anyone else on the tracker. Schmidt and Henschel also in the mix. Grail and Diomeda 4th. Diaz and Boltens 5th. Arapov Sitchik in 6th. So back to our live shot. And there they go, towards the finish. Laser out there practicing as well. And I think we may have lost Schmidt. The track has been going all day. We're at the end of race, the second race of the day. I think that was Schmidt just jibing around. Oh, doing a penalty turn. And what was that for, pumping, do you think?
Yeah, it looks like a penalty turn, maybe from rocking. We'll see if he does another one there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, must have been probably rocking. So you think that's Schmidt?
Yeah. So they've lost a place through that. You've got some on-the-water umpires out there, Mark.
Yeah, actually you can see the umpire boat just slightly behind, maybe, I don't know if that's 5th and 6th. And yeah, they'd be watching the boats, and if the boat is rocking and it's the sailors that are initiating that rocking without turning down a wave or whatever, they'll penalize the boat. and the penalty is 2 circles. Yeah, it looks like these both guys are probably jiving for the finish. Maybe is that the last jibe? Yeah.
Well, out on the water we have Louay Habib. Louay, we're going to lose virtual just for the now because the GPS trackers are beginning to drop out. But Louay, you must be down there towards the finish line.
Yes, we most certainly are, Digby. And about 30 seconds ago, the umpires came flying in, pointed straight at Staniek and Clean, and raised that yellow flag. And they've had to put in 2 turns, which has let the Morazis back into second place. And I believe that is Stitch that has got into Schmidt, that has got into third. So within sight of the finish and a second place, Staniek and Clean get penalised and drop at least 1 place and probably another place to Schmidt. So they actually affected their 2 turns amazingly quickly, and at the moment Torben Grail, I believe, is just behind them, and they managed to hold off Torben Grail. But an absolute disaster there for Staniek and Clean, getting a penalty with sniffing the finish line. But I'll talk you through what's going on here. The George Szabo and Eduardo Natucci have held on to that lead. They're probably about 4 or 5 boat lengths ahead of the Morazis. Staniek and Clean at that time were really starting to push them, and that's opened the door for Szabo and Natucci. Hard lines there on Staniek, but let's not forget that Szabo and Natucci fell foul of that black flag on the first race. So they sometimes luck evens itself out, and they were definitely under pressure there. Probably wouldn't have got taken, but at the moment it's Szabo and Natucci that look like they're going to win this 4th race. Looking down the rest of the leaders here, I would say that Morazzi look fairly comfortable in second. And it's now Staniek and Clean in third, but they are definitely under pressure from Schmidt. And Torben Grail is definitely after Schmidt as well. So it's certainly not over for the places up at the front here. But I'll just ask Luca how far we think they've got to go. What do you reckon, Luca? Yeah, it's they've got about 100 metres to go here, Digby, and the pressure looks good. So it looks like it's going to be George Szabo and Eduardo Natucci taking their first bullet of the regatta. They've got, as I said, just less than 100 metres to go. Looking up the track, everybody has gone over to, or the vast majority have gone over to the Malcesine side. So it doesn't look like there's going to be massive changes there. We're too far ahead now to see the battle going on between Negri, Lambertenghi and Polgar and Coy. I can hear another whistle. Yes, that is another whistle from the umpire. And he is pointing at, I'm pretty sure that I think it's, yes, it's the Morazis. The Morazis have now been penalised as well. So the Morazis in second place and now have to do their 2 turns. It's not over till it's over, and this is quite sensational stuff at the end of this race. So the Morazis go into their 2 turns, and this may well be that Staniek and Clean pass Morazis. So that's quite incredible there. Staniek and Clean back into second place. The Morazis doing turns, and it's just painful to watch this. It looks like Schmidt's coming through them as well, and Torben Grail. That looks like that's cost them 3 places. So as we come up to the finish line, here's Szabo and Natucci coming through the finish line. We'll see if we get a reaction from them. And there is a big shake of hands there from the two of them. They absolutely love that. George Szabo standing up in the boat with Eduardo Natucci, and they absolutely love that one. And wow, Staniek and Clean are going to be the next ones through here. Quite amazing. They took a penalty. They looked like they'd lost a place. They just put in a jibe to the finish. We'll see what kind of reaction we get from these two. Yeah, looks like Mr. Clean's having a bit of a giggle there. He certainly looks on the brighter side of life. Yeah, just a little nod over, and there's literally a blanket coming through the line, and it is just Schmidt, followed by Grail, followed by Morazis, but all 3 were overlapped going through that finish line. We really wouldn't like to call that one, but I think it was Schmidt, Grail, Morazis, and we've got another finisher coming through, bow number 34, which is Diaz, Augie Diaz, and Baltins, having another consistent race. And then that's followed by Arapov and Sitic, the Croatians. And I'm looking at one in the distance there. I can't quite ID him at the moment. It's the Hungarian team. So a great comeback after getting in trouble in the last race with a sail problem. And then we have Fuchs coming through the line. And that's Fuchs coming through the line almost overlapped with, I'm afraid I can't see which boat. That's the Austrian team. That's, I think it's Schenker. And then we have Polgar and Coy approaching the line now that have won the battle with the Italian Navy. Here come Negri and Lambertenghi. But it's going to be Polgar and Coy that win that little private battle. They're just going through the line now, Polgar and Coy. Good race for them. And followed by Negri and Lambertenghi. And then there's a bit of a gap, Digby, and I'm going to just mention one more. The front of that pack that's coming down is Malibu and Prada, the current regatta leaders. And they've managed to hold off the charge of the Light Brigade to lead that through. They had a poor mark rounding in so much as they had to duck 3 boats, and they look like they've held off this pack. They are struggling to lay the pin end, and a jibe now would be very costly. So we'll just stay with it a bit to see if they're going to make the line on this jibe. If they don't, it'll cost them at least 3 places. And in fact, it's the German pair that go through first. That's number 66. And yes, Malibu and Prada just make that line. I think they probably had to sail off the right course there, but only one of them got through. So really holding off the pack there. But Digby, I'm running out of breath. I probably need at least 1 or 2 espresso coffees and some sparkling water. So if you could get that on the bar at the yacht club, I'd be absolutely delighted. Hold on, I'll just ask Luca. Luca, would you like some?
Oh, yeah. Can I have a gin and tonic, please?
And a gin and tonic, please, for Luca Medina. Back to you in the studio, please, Digby.
Great job, Louis. Thank you very much for talking us through that. As the trackers had dropped out on us, the batteries have been going all day, and we've had a few of the boats running out of charge for the trackers. So Mark Reynolds in the studio with us. Quite a dramatic finish with a few penalties being thrown around.
Yeah, that was. It was pretty exciting watching this from the studio. I wish I was out there, but this was the second best option. Yeah, that was with the Morazis. His boat's a little harder to turn around too because of his backstay setup, and sailing with his wife here too. I think they're a little more on holiday than the normal Olympic campaign, and it was exciting to see them in second. I'm sorry they Had to do 7:20 there. That's kind of surprising. And then Klein and Staniak also got penalized, but as you saw, they were the ones that sailed in the last Olympics together, representing Germany, and so they're pretty well trained on being able to spin around, and ended up getting second in the race, and they're right up there, particularly with the throw out. They're going to be tough to beat.
Well, they are indeed. 6 races in the World Championship, 5 to count. George Szabo has had his black flag already, but so that first position for Szabo and Nattucci is going to do them a power of good and launch them up the leaderboard into the top 10. And just to quickly run through the top 5 or 6 finishers, it was Szabo and Nattucci, followed by Staniak and Klein, and then I think it was Schmidt, the German team, and Torben Grael, and then the Morazis, who led for so much of this race, and we were rather rooting for them earlier for them to win, but 5th is a great result for them, and then Orgi Diaz, and then the Croatians Arapov and Sitchik. So, Mark, I think we're going to wrap it up here. We'll leave the camera running for some of the rest of the fleet to cross the line. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to come in the studio and watch the race. It was fun.
Okay, well, 2 more races to go. We wish you the best of luck for those, and we hope today is your discard. You've been performing extremely well here, 9th going into this race, so it's not all over.
Yeah, no, we were a little disappointed not being racing today in the second race, but we'll come out and try to have 2 good ones and see if we can get into the back into the top 10 again.
Okay, I'm sure you will. All right, thank you very much, Mark Reynolds.
Thank you.
So as we say farewell to Mark Reynolds, I'm going to say farewell to Louis Habib. We'll go and order those drinks at the bar for you, the gin and tonics and the beers and the cappuccinos. Chris has come down from the roof. Thank you very much, Chris. Really appreciate that. And many thanks to John and Ben from Virtual Eye and to Paul down in New Zealand. That is the end of race number 4. We'll be back tomorrow for race number 5. The start is local time, CE, Central European time. Should be 12:20. That's when we're scheduled to come back online, and that's GMT plus 2 hours. 12:20 GMT plus 2 hours. We'll leave the roof cam live running just for the rest of the fleet to go through the line, but we'll be back for race number 5 and a very different looking leaderboard going into day number 5 as well. So thanks for watching. Thanks for chipping in a few encouraging comments. Thanks Jan Paulik for telling us great pictures, and looking forward to coming to Malcesine, and we've enjoyed this day very much. A long day for us, and we're going to go and have a cheeky little beer at the bar. Great job all round. Thanks for watching. Catch you tomorrow.